I would advocate that we quickly, let's double down on the things that we do really well, bring and integrate new people.
We got an election. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, we've got Mark Carney calling an election here. Mary Simon climbed off her throne and actually did something, considering she makes $351,000 a year. You got to wonder, every day she works, she must be making $20,000 or $40,000, $50,000 a day. No, really, all she does is form government and dissolve government and show up for a few ceremonies. She's absolutely useless. With that today, we've got so much news coming out. We're going to be focusing on Pierre Polyev's rally that was held yesterday versus Mark Carney's. Now, there's key differences, being Pierre Polyv seems to have 10 times more people, but Mark Carney got flooded at the doors with what seems dozens, maybe even 100 plus fishermen protesting against him. Carney had to send out his armed goons to lock the doors so angry fishermen couldn't rush in there and protest him at his own rally. There's a bunch of stuff going on. Let's jump into this. First up, we got polling data. This is coming from Polyv, Sharia Teast. We can see here from all this aggregate, it's pretty much tied. What's funny here is he's posted this. NDP enters campaign with record-breaking momentum. Strong slate. It's like, yeah. Record-breaking going down. That's right. And we got new polling data here. This one coming from Abacus Data. So it's important to look at a few pollsters coming out. Abacus Data, Angus Reid, and Innovative Research. Those are kind of the top ones that we're going to be looking at. Maybe Leger. A bunch of the other pollsters are all garbage, as we've seen. So we've got 39 here for Conservatives, 36% for Mark Carney. This is 3 polls in a row. Now we're seeing the Conservatives ahead. But to win and win a majority, we need this to be 10% higher than the Liberals, just based on how our broken system works here in Canada and all the ridings and how that splits up. In contrast, we've got garbage data coming out from Liaison Strategies, 38% Liberals, 36% Conservatives. As we've seen on YouTube and on X, should we just be referring to this as CCP Strategies? As this company was only doing provincial polling up until a week ago, and suddenly they bust out polls out of nowhere, and then they're doing one every single day. Meanwhile, all the other polling firms like these guys, they can't do more than 1 poll a week, but Liaison can crank out 6. Yeah, corruption. In other news, we got Sam Cooper here. It says he's deeply honored and humbled to receive the King Charles III Coronation Medal in recognition of service to Canada. Congratulations, Sam Cooper, Canada's best investigative journalist, bringing up the corruption and scandals, the dirty ties the Liberals have. Canada is in debt to you, and we appreciate all you do. We've got Kevin Vaughan here with him. Congratulations, you deserve it. Bravo. Well deserved. A lot of congratulations in here. Will any Liberals be congratulating Sam Cooper? That's the question now. So moving over to the events here, this is Pierre Polyev's, and as you can see, the line here is just absolutely huge, all the way around the block and down the street and around the block and down the street. It just goes on and on. And inside the event, Pierre Polyv shows up and there's just an army of people waiting for him. Okay, so I can't have that music in there for very long, but there's Pierre, comes in with his kid, everyone waiting for him. The momentum is rising here big time. You can also see here in the ballroom, just absolutely packed. There's a ton of people in this room. And that's what we're seeing here. You can see the contrast. This is Pierre's event. This is Mark Carney's event. Now, Mark Carney's was a little bit different. Here's the inside. But he also had some people showing up for him outside. Yeah, that's right. These are fishermen, as Leah's posted here. So Carney campaign off to a great start. He managed to anger all the fishermen in Newfoundland, and when they showed up to protest, he called the cops and locked them out of the building. Look how many fishermen here. There's easily 50 plus, maybe 100 fishermen outside the door, and they did lock him out. There's footage inside here. It says more than 50 Newfoundland and Labrador fish harvesters are outside Mark Carney's rally in St. John's. Police said they have told them to move outside. The front doors are now locked. Carney started his speech saying he wants to acknowledge them and he's here to listen. Yeah, except he locked them out.
Anymore.
No.
Okay, not for anybody. Because we're starting to go to the main entrance there now. If you let one of the gentlemen in there now, it might be 20 rushing behind them.
20? Yeah, definitely.
So,
Disgraceful. So you can see them all here. They're just all lined up.
Is that their goal or are they trying to get these here? Oh, yeah, they want to get in, yeah.
He said, is that their goal? They want to get in? Yeah, they want to get in. They want to protest against Mark Carney. Mark Carney's taking no actions. We're seeing this tariff coming from China against seafood. That's why they're here. Against canola, against other products in Canada. From China, 100% tariff on canola. Where was Mark Carney? He didn't meet with Xi Jinping. He didn't even pick up the phone. He didn't pick up the phone to call Donald Trump. Just think about that. If Mark Carney had cut a deal with either Xi Jinping or Donald Trump before the election, that would have been such a huge win to show he's a leader. leader and he can handle stuff. And yet all he did was ignore both of them. No wonder these people are pissed off. Carney's not a man of the people. He's a rich banker who showed up after living abroad, living in New York, shows up in Canada because he has a house in Canada when he wasn't living in, and says he wants to be prime minister. And what brilliant idea did Mark Carney come up with? Check this out. It's a tax cut for the middle class.
We will cut the lowest income tax bracket by 1 percentage point. We will
This guy is just the biggest loser ever. You think anyone's getting excited about that? But don't worry, he'll bring in his net zero agenda that will decimate your life, but he's going to cut your income tax by 1%. Well, I suppose in his financial circles, 1% is a massive dollar amount. We are not the same. Is he donating his PM's income to the food bank? Good question. This multimillionaire doesn't need that income. This whole situation with him and the Nepean riding here. So Chandra Arya gets kicked out of the Liberal leadership race. Then he gets kicked out of his own riding after he's already fundraised for it. Mark Carney steals his riding when there's plenty of other ridings. There's safer ridings. I was looking around downtown Toronto. I'm like, why wouldn't he go for one of these other ones? It's obvious he wouldn't want to go to another place like Edmonton. He could have taken other ridings, yet he takes Chandra Arya's. How do you think that's going to play out? Do you think the Indian community is going to smile nicely upon that? Of course not. Chandra Arya needs to come out and protest hard against this, even bring up a lawsuit, run as an independent, do something. He has the ability to completely sway this situation and make Carney look terrible. Gotta remember, Chandra Arya said he didn't think the Liberal leadership race was being done in a fair manner. So clearly the Liberal establishment remembered that and make sure to kick him out. Same thing with Ruby Dalla. Stole all her fundraising, kicked her to the curb. Meanwhile, we got Sohi here, the mayor of Edmonton, running for Southeast Edmonton. So Randy Boussinau not running anymore. I mean, he should be in jail. This gangster wants to be back in the House of Commons. Mayor Sohi. This guy was Justin Trudeau's Minister of Natural Resources from 2018 to 2019. The keep it in the ground guy. Do you think he's going to be advocating for pipelines? I don't think so. We've got a little side story here. So we've got Barbara Ball. She's running in the same Nepean riding as Mark Carney. So we got Pleb here trying to blow up her account here so she wins and Carney doesn't get a seat. If the Liberals end up winning the election, but she beats Carney in Nepean, Carney would still be prime minister, but without a seat. So with that, we've got her calling out Mark Carney because he talks about Bell's Corner and Nepean. She says here, Carney's so out of touch with Nepean that he doesn't even know that riding or the community. He still thinks it's 2021. Bell's Corners is actually no longer part of Nepean. Another indication of lost decade under Liberal Party.
I've been resident in Ottawa. I know Nepean well. I was best man to Peter Chiarelli, grew up in Nepean. So from Barhaven to Bell's Corners and in between, it's an area I know well.
So this guy was asked why Nepean and if he lives there, and he says, well, his best friend lives there. Good enough. The fact he doesn't live there, and she's calling out Bell's Corner here. I mean, Mark Carney's a chronic liar. But with that, we've got her absolutely blast the Liberals. So he's got a serious contender, even though it's a safer Liberal seat.
And the facts are clear. Even if Justice Minister Varani is trying to convince Canadians that their eyes and their ears are deceiving them, crime is up in Canada. Stats Canada backs that up. In my hometown of Ottawa, calls for police are up. There's been 50 shootings citywide this year alone. Just last weekend, we had 8 innocent people shot, with 2 killed at a wedding. And the rising crime is nationwide. 2 days ago, 3 OPP officers were stabbed in the line of duty by a repeat violent offender. And we know that these violent crimes are going unchecked by poor decision-making by the Liberal government, who are more concerned about moral grandstanding than the reality that we see in our streets and our neighborhoods. Our correctional systems have become revolving doors. Liberal jail reform lets criminals out on the same day that they're arrested. It's time for a system that works. Here's an example of common sense. Bail reform. It's time for jail, not bail, for repeat violent offenders.
I mean, this is all common sense. We just have the stupidest government in human history running our country. Next up, we got Pierre Polyv here. And so he had a press conference while Mark Carney was announcing that he'd be dissolving Parliament. And if you listen to the questions Mark Carney got, it was all softball crap from the CBC. Meanwhile, Pierre Polyv gets these ridiculous, stupid questions like this one about security clearance. But Pierre was ready for this one.
Hello, Mr. Polyv. Mark Ramsey with the Toronto Star. Your party was the target of foreign interference in the last 2 election campaigns, but you're going into this one without the security clearance necessary to
So first off, your party was targeted for foreign interference. It's just painting a picture. The Liberals were too, but the Liberals have way more foreign interference. If you look at the names already released, 3 Liberals and 1 Conservative. If they release the names of all 11 of them, probably the lion's share, probably all the remaining ones will be Liberals. That's why they don't want to release them.
Receive briefings on this. When should Canadians expect you to get that security clearance?
Well, I've already had clearance. I was a minister in cabinet already, and the government has the ability to give me any information they think necessary. But what I'm not going to do is go into a process, a politically directed process by the Liberals that they use to decide what I can see and say and comment on. We know that the Liberals have made Canada a playground to foreign interference. They're the ones that have benefited from foreign interference. We also call on the government to have the foreign agent registry set up for this election so that Canadians know if any foreign or hostile regimes are intervening in our democracy, so that we can expose that and protect ourselves.
It's a great answer. He was ready for that one. Woke Toronto Star with garbage questioning. Who do you think China wants to have as prime minister? Mark Carney has had meetings with Xi Jinping. He's went out and made deals for Brookfield Asset Management. They hold something like $3 billion of real estate in China. Of course, there's going to be some back and forth there. Hey, Xi Jinping, we need a little help over here in Canada. Want to send over some of that Chinese money and get things moving? The corruption's out of control. What we have here is interesting. Jagmeet Singh taking a serious dig at Mark Carney, and it's not bad.
Mr. Singh, I'll just follow up here. You had a lot to say about Mark Carney and a lot about what he's done to cash in on this crisis, you've said. What evidence do you have that Mark Carney has done anything unethical to take advantage of this crisis?
Well, the fact that he headed up Brookfield, and Brookfield is a large corporate landlord in Canada that engaged in rent eviction. At a time when Canadians could not find affordable homes, he saw a way to make more profit for his company. And now I don't fault him for making profit for his company. I fault him for proposing that somehow the person that fed the housing crisis, that rent evicted people, that jacked up the price of homes that were affordable, that bought up affordable homes, then turned them into unaffordable places, that somehow that guy could be trusted to fix the housing crisis. He cannot be trusted. What he's going to do is what he's done his entire career, which is make more money for the super rich. And it's going to hurt you and your family. That's what people need to know. And I'm going to point that out every time I get.
So Jagmeet Singh is an awful politician. They should have kicked him out. They would be doing much better without him. But this is a good angle for the NDP. They will gain back some of their supporters and siphon them from the Liberals by attacking housing like this, because housing is the #1 problem in Canada. It's the highest expense. It decimates basically anyone's life who's under the age of 30 for sure. A lot of Canadians under 40, 45, 50. It really affects the majority of Canadians. So this angle here, going after the landlord, Brookfield, rent evictions, all of that, Jagmeet and the NDP might be able to claw back a few percentage away from the Liberals, which will help the Conservatives. One of the creators of the Century Initiative. This is the guy who wants 100 million people in Canada by 2100. As it says here from Table Salt, this guy lobbied Trudeau to bring 500,000 immigrants per year into Canada and got exactly that number. This is why you can't afford a house.
In fact, I believe that the vast majority of growth that we've had in Canada since the Second World War has come from the fact that we have brought new Canadians into our economy. Those Canadians pay taxes. Those Canadians start businesses. Those Canadians are entrepreneurial.
No, they don't. They're bringing in the worst of the worst. They're not bringing in business owners or welders, construction workers, scientists. Bring in people who feed off of our system and offer nothing back.
And those Canadians are consumers, those new Canadians. I would advocate that we quickly do what Canadians do best. I mean, let's double down on the things that we do really well. And one of the things we do very well in this country is bring and integrate new people. And so I would personally advocate increasing our current immigration levels to somewhere closer to 500,000 a year from about 330,000 that was currently coming into the country pre-COVID. And I would use our advantage to grow our economy by
This is Mark Carney's advisor saying this.
Targeting immigrants, quite frankly, skilled immigrants in many cases, who would otherwise be going to the United States and who don't want to go there or can't go there today. We should be encouraging those people to come north of the border and to help us grow our economy. Keep in mind, these are consumers, these are taxpayers, these are entrepreneurs, these are people who are going to help us grow. And if we think short term, of course, it's easy to say we've got high unemployment today. We didn't have high unemployment coming into COVID, but we have to be thinking forward in order to start that ball rolling today if we're going to
This guy's a disaster. He's an absolute disaster.
Try and drive recovery and, frankly, pay back those hundreds of billions of dollars. That's got to be part of the growth plan.
The only growth plan this guy has is for his own bank account. These guys either have big businesses, they want to bring in a bunch of people and drive down wages so they don't have to pay as much, which increases profits, or they own real estate and bring in all these people and it jacks up the real estate value and they also get rich. So they're double dipping.
Well, and then I do want to just talk, before I let you go, talk to you about that, because the growth, obviously, to your point, is going to be critical. Growing at 3% is, unusual.
Yeah, it is unusual. It says here, this clip was from 2020. This is when it all started. So this guy behind Justin Trudeau was one of the people that helped destroy Canada. And now he's back as Carney's advisor. There he is, Century Initiative, just so you can see there, Mark Wiseman. Next up, we got Mark Carney here saying that Canadians will decide the next leader, not Donald Trump, as Government EXE says here. It's funny because CSIS said every government for the last 50 years has been compromised by foreign states and NGOs. Mark Carney was installed by the WF.
U.S. President Donald Trump claims that he totally changed you and your party's fortunes. Is he interfering in our election? And since he repeated the 51st state comment about Canada, does this mean that a meeting with Trump or a phone call is off the table?
Canadians are going to decide who their next government is going to be. I trust Canadians to make those decisions. We'll have I'm sure, a robust election campaign, and Canadians will make the choice.
Why did he look down when he said robust election campaign? That kind of body language, it doesn't sit well with me.
No foreign leader is going to determine who's best. The interference, I'll leave that to one side.
The interference, he'll leave that to one side. Will he? What about Chrystia Freeland having Palestinian protesters at her leadership announcement and none at yours? How did that work out? There's a whole lot of corruption going on here. We got another one here. It says Mark Carney's a terrible speaker. He stumbles over questions and snaps at reporters. He's been a PM for a week and all his briefings have been disastrous. He's asked if the federal government would use federal dollars to build an oil and gas pipeline.
The government would not build or spend federal tax dollars to build an oil and gas pipeline.
Well, the position is not black and white. I'm not going to rule out any federal participation in any possibility down the road. I mean, it's possible, but the emphasis is on private construction. Thank you.
I can't stand this thing. Can't wait to see the debates. This ad with Mike Myers and Mark Carney is just cringe beyond cringe. And Mike Myers is a complete traitor.
Let's go. Mr. Prime Minister, Mike Myers, what are you doing here?
Look at this flag back here. Like somebody taped this up with some tacks. It looks so bad.
I just thought I'd come up and check on things.
You live in the States.
Yeah, but I'll always be Canadian.
But you live in the States.
Yeah, so? Do you remember Mr. Dressup, the children's show on CBC?
What were the names of Mr. Dressup's two puppet friends?
Casey and Finnegan,
Spud,
Howie, Meeker,
Capital Saskatchewan,
Regina,
tragically.
Hip.
You're a defenseman defending a 2-on-1. What do?
Take away the pass, obviously.
What are the 2 seasons in Toronto?
Winter and construction.
Wow. You really are Canadian.
Yeah. But let me ask you, Mr. Prime Minister, will there always be a Canada?
There will always be a Canada.
All right. Elbows up.
Elbows up.
Oh, God. This is just awful. It's so awful. This part at the start here, too, he's saying, what are you doing here? Oh, I live in America.
You live in the States.
You live in the States. They're really trying to ease off Carney's situation here. Coming from the States, the guy who doesn't live in Canada, hasn't lived in Canada, shows up to be prime minister. This isn't going to work. This is a garbage ad. What we're seeing recently here is a lot more people praying in the streets. And this guy's come out here with a megaphone here, as well as this big stereo system here, and he's just playing music while they're praying, and they come over and telling him to turn it down. He's like, nope, I'm not turning nothing down. It's awesome. And we're seeing the same thing here. So people praying outside of RBC, and then all these people driving by are just honking to essentially disrupt the praying.
You Go to your mosque!
This is turning into chaos. Like, this crap has to end. We need to make it illegal to pray outside. Pray in your church, pray in your mosque. Well, there we have it. The first day here, just complete madness. So much news going on here. We can expect the TAC ads coming out are just going to start getting feistier and feistier. Will the NDP just keep doubling down on the whole Brookfield landlord angle? Is that what they're going to be doing? Pierre Polyv has already been out for days now, a full week, basically attacking all fronts. So it'll be interesting to see here the next polls that come out, legitimate polls, not the CCP polls. Is Mark Carney's honeymoon period starting to end? Is it a battle here? What are we looking at in this landscape? There are a lot of brainwashed Canadians who'd rather just not look up who Mark Carney is and just think of him as a clean slate, when really he is the net zero banker that will be the nail in the coffin for Canada.